the Rhodes Scholar, aka the Rogue Scholar. We're here in the Library of Choice, and I'm looking at An American Dilemma. I'm looking at a book called American Dilemma. We're also here with my main man, Mr. Son Frazier, still here. Say his whole name.
Thanks for stating my gun.
Well, I don't know if we should talk about the immigrants when, George Bush died.
Very interesting. We've had so many presidents, and of course the last two, Mr. Obama and Mr. Trump, have been so controversial in their own ways that you tend to forget George Bush and think perhaps a little bit more of his son. But George Bush was, I think, one of the few gentleman Republicans that I've encountered in my life. And why do I say that? He was never truly vindictive. You would never have found him picking on aliens or immigrants or black people who can't afford Medicare. That wasn't George's way. He knew the philosophy of the Republican Party at that time, but he always took the higher path. Always look for the broader issues. And I have a lot of respect for his presidency. People have said on the newscast that he is probably going to go down as one of the best one-term presidents we've ever had. And after seeing his son and after seeing Trump, I think that's at least going to be correct for the next 25, 30 years.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's true. Because I thought about Jimmy. He was a one-term president. Everybody liked him.
Jimmy who?
Jimmy Carter.
No. People didn't like Jimmy Carter. There was that strong Southern base that liked Jimmy Carter. There were those that liked a fellow carrying a Bible around all the time, Jimmy Carter.
No.
But as a naval officer who owned a peanut plantation in Georgia, I'm not so sure that Jimmy Carter was that beloved.
Who did he come behind?
Respected.
Who did he come behind? What president did he came at?
Richard Nixon.
Okay then, I remember that very specifically.
Or was it Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan came after. I think it was Gerald Ford.
Okay, I remember
Nixon, Ford.
Nixon, Ford, and Carter.
I remember very clearly Jimmy Carter's commercials when he was running for president, and I remember as soon as I saw his first commercial, the first time I saw him on TV, I said to myself, that guy could win. He came on there on his commercial. He had his peanut farmer. He was on the farm with his farmer shirt on and the peanuts. There looked some kind of farming machine behind him. He said, "I'm Jimmy Carter. I want to be your president. I want to work for you." And after Gerald Ford, the oatmeal man, and Tricky Dicky and all of them, he looked like the right guy. I mean, he was a keeper. And as soon as he got in, the first thing they said was, we don't like him, and we're not going to work with him, and he need to get the H-E-double-L out of here. They got rid of him. They didn't want to work with him. You remember that, don't you?
Well, I remember that Jimmy Carter
That wasn't a yes.
went into the presidency with nothing but regional support. Very few people in the entire country knew much about him.
That's true.
And he was very strong in the South, which at that time was looking for any reason to distance itself from Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford and their presidency. I would compare Jimmy Carter and his success as a president to another Southerner, Mr. Bill Clinton. And I think Clinton came out of Arkansas with that small state attitude, playing the saxophone, not carrying the Bible, but playing the saxophone. And he then proceeded to put in place policies which would have been all right normally, but because they were coming from a youngish, internationally educated Rhodes Scholar president, seemed to be a little bit of a surprise to a lot of folks. So I would say Carter was more like Bill Clinton than he was any other president in history.
Okay.
And in terms of one-term success, I don't think Carter's one-term success is equal to that of George Bush Sr.
Well, maybe you're right, because I remember when George Bush, he came after Reagan.
That's right.
And
He was Reagan's vice president.
right, and I remember, which always amazes me when you hear these current shows and they're talking about Ronald Reagan, how he was this, that, or the other. And I remember we didn't think he was that smart. Nobody thought he was like no great. He was a great orator. I don't remember him being all of that.
He was a great communicator, and in addition, he was an actor who knew how to use his office. President Trump is a would-be actor who doesn't know how to use his office. Ronald Reagan, when he spoke softly and talked about the future and the rest, did get you to believe that there was the future and the rest.
He did not.
Yes, he did.
He did not.
Yes, he did.
We thought he was a jerk.
We did not.
I'm not speaking for the we.
What we?
Oh, excuse me.
I know that he ran very poorly up in the Dannemora district, and I know that he probably ran very poorly in the Harlem district.
Okay.
But overall, George Bush Sr.'s presidency was kind of well respected compared to that of his son, because don't forget, he had just come from Connecticut to go down to Texas in order to start his political life and his political family. And so it was a different Bush family, as well as George Jr. and Jeb Bush, the former governor of Florida, than we have today. So I think he'll be fondly remembered, but I don't think Jimmy Carter was a better one-term president than George Bush Sr.
Well, I'm saying that Reagan, I don't know why he's fondly remembered when there would be no Black Panthers if it wasn't for Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Why is he fondly remembered? He was a doodlehead. You know he was.
Was a good-looking movie star that women liked. He was married to a very fine first lady, and he did nothing in the presidency to make it seem less worthy or to denigrate it in any way. That is Ronald Reagan's thing. And of course, to say Gorbachev knocked down that wall and to get rid of the Berlin Wall and all the rest of this, those were pretty decent accomplishments for Reagan. But it was basically the fact that he was lovable. That's why he was head of the Film Actors Guild for so many years, because he was popular, he was businesslike, and he knew what to do.
We're going to take a quick break for those of you who are listening to us on the radio. We're here and we're talking about Reagan. Now, you said you was a backer, but people thought he had Alzheimer's.
He did.
Okay.
For the last term.
He didn't beat Jimmy Carter in the debate either, by the way.
Well, that's a viewpoint, certainly. I don't agree with it, but that's a viewpoint.
Well, you're biased.
But he had Alzheimer's, but he was smart enough to keep quiet about it and let his wife run the country.
It's pretty obvious.
Now, Trump, I believe, has Alzheimer's, but he can't keep quiet about it.
No, he has Alzheimer's.
Well, that may be. But he is running, Trump that is running his presidency as Adolf Hitler ran Germany and the government. Where everybody who serves under him is more like a courtier, a sycophant, a want to get business done person. That's all that surrounded the Nazis. That's all that surrounded the Nazis and Hitler, and I'm afraid that's all that has turned out to surround our current President Trump.
So you're saying that the current president, one thing I saw that I thought was pretty interesting, they had some guy on there who told about the WikiLeaks, and they said he had a draft indictment from Robert Mueller, and he was on TV showing that he had this draft indictment. And I said to myself, I was just laughing hysterically because I said to myself, no one gives you a draft indictment. I never heard of that. I've never heard of that. Have you ever heard of that? A draft? We're gonna indict you, and here's a draft so you can look at it.
There are always ways to obtain any document, including draft documents. And to say that there might be clandestine ways that it was done with Mueller.
He said Robert Mueller gave it to him.
Well, maybe.
That's what he said.
Even if Robert Mueller did not give it to him, it's no big deal when there are leaks and thefts of documents. This is government. This
he
is
had his
control.
documents, the theft, the thievery, if that's the case. He had it on TV. The thing that struck me is that I've been indicted. They don't give you any draft indictments. They just go like this. They just go say, your ass is indicted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's how they indict you. They go like this. Your ass is indicted. Walk to the next room.
What number president was you? 47?
This guy wasn't
53?
the president. This guy wasn't the president.
What we're talking about you right now. Why should your indictment be commensurate with that of a president of the United States?
We're not talking about the president. The guy we talking about wasn't the president. The guy is one of the guys that was with the guy who spilled the WikiLeaks thing. He was the guy that said Obama was wasn't a real citizen. That man, that white guy.
When you have access to the only house on top of the hill where the king or queen reigns.
Okay, all right, I got to stay quick. So remember this, boys and girls. If you're not a white guy connected with the president, you won't get a draft indictment. You'll get the kind of indictment that I got. Your ass is already indicted. We're not asking you nothing. And if you're a white guy or associated with the president, you get a draft indictment, and they'll maybe talk about if they want to draft you later over tea and biscuits.
Let's make America great again.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying as an expert who's been indicted, that people I feel a little put upon because they're scourging the name of those of us who've been indicted.
Well, I would argue they're also.
There's no shame. There's no shame. There's no shame
They're
in
also
your indictment.
muddying the name of the president, but that's all right.
I would never muddy the name of a honorable, perfectly good white guy like him. Why would I do that?
Neither would I.
Yeah, I would do that.
But then again, I haven't spent time in Dan. Okay.
Well, Dannemora is. I will say this. Dannemora.
Don't tell me it's a laboratory of life.
Well, I would say this about as one of my great heroes would say, Dr. Evil. I would say Dannemora is an acquired experience, and it's not for everyone.
Definitely.
But one thing I will say about that place, it will straighten you out if you're crooked.
And it will poison you completely if you begin to let the process start.
Well, I don't know about all of that, but I'm just saying they got people in there who ain't coming home. So, so maybe if Donald Trump went there, but let me just switch for a second. Did you see the Kansas City running back who was fired today, yesterday, for I didn't know this incident that happened in February, where he was with some lady in a hallway, it looks like a hallway or something, and I would say he pushed her on the floor. He pushed somebody else, and somebody else fell into her. And when I looked at it, it looked like young people drinking. And if I had if that was my daughter, I would have asked my daughter, "Are you drinking while we there?" You know what I mean?
And what is your point about the football player?
My point about the football player is that he's a very young person, and him and that lady was drinking, and he's an idiot because he did what something that a young person would do. I'm happy because being that I was indicted before, that he didn't take it to any level other than it was pure stupidity. The whole thing.
Well,
the whole thing. I mean, there was no way that you could even look at that and see that he even tried to hurt her or anything like that. It's pure stupidity.
Well,
baseline.
He's gone. Next.
Oh yeah, they got rid of him. He's done. They done him. He's gone.
I think
they did him in.
so because I think the critical charge was he failed to report the incident, and then after it was reported, he said that it was not like what people observed on the screen. And
he said he didn't put his hand on it.
And now, the indictments are coming down.
He didn't get indicted.
From the police department.
He didn't get indicted.
He will be.
He's not getting indicted. I saw it. What I saw happen, I don't see how that's even near an assault. It's not even near it. Not even near it.
Thank goodness you're not commissioner of the NFL.
Well, the commissioner of the NFL can make up anything he wants. I'm speaking as a person that's been indicted. As a criminal person and seeing and being.
As one who hasn't been indicted, I'm glad they did what they did to him.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he shouldn't. I just thought that it was interesting This guy can't be no more than 23 years old.
Yeah,
So
that's
top,
the
no,
way
let me just
the-
finish. Tops. The young lady that he was, she looks like they were around the same age. You could clearly see that somebody was,
Millennials.
yeah, they were very young kids. You could see that somebody was intoxicated and was at it, and he fell for it.
Right, and
Well, you know, those are the kinds of things that people need to see that because they need to see what would happen if you put yourself in that kind of situation. And when you decide that when people, particularly women, are talking junk to you, you just have to let that go.
well,
I'm just saying.
that's a lesson.
That's a perfect example of that
That's
place.
a lesson that has not been learned by anybody since the 1930s.
Well, you may be right.
And it's unlikely that it will be learned about now with women looking so good, drinks be so cheap, and travel always being available. So I don't know exactly what we're talking about here except as a paradigm of a cultural shift. And in that regard, his big thing, the NFL player's big thing was he didn't tell the proper people about it. He mischaracterized it when it did occur, and his lawyer has been stonewalling the league for the last 2.5 months. So all of that came to a head. They let him go. Now we'll hear from his lawyer about subsequent remedies that he'll be seeking on behalf of his client.
Well, I mean, you could see that the one girl had a camera and she was trying to tape it and somebody took it, but you could see that he was with some of his friends and they could not keep the dude away. And you could see how strong he was because, like I said, he didn't hit the girl. He pushed one of his friends and his friend fell into a guy who was talking to the girl.
I mean, what's your problem? The optics look bad and he has to suffer for it. What's the problem?
Well, yeah, what the problem is that if when you look at that and you put yourself in the position of, if you're a person that has a daughter and a son, you could see how you would want to tell your daughter how not to be in those kind of situations.
Well, of course, but that,
You know what I mean? Forget about punishing
that
him.
will
Forget about
only
that.
be-
Everybody's focusing like you. Oh, we're just going to punish the guy. Forget about him. He fucked up. They already did him in.
No. I'm not being one who has no sons. I'm not focusing on the son so much.
Yes, you are.
I'm focusing on the daughter. And quite frankly, I think the league did the right thing by firing his ass.
The league didn't do
immediately.
anything.
By firing his ass immediately and condoning the club if the club was the one that fired
Club
him.
fighter.
And the league has done the right thing because people expect to see a very swift response to those types of incidents now. It may not have been the correct response in this instance, but it was a quick response, and many people would consider that meritorious on the part of the NFL.
You know, I'm good with that. I don't have. That's not. I'm not looking at it. I'm just looking at it as if that was your daughter.
Well, I would.
You know what I mean? That was what I
look
saw
at
that-
it more if it's my son. I wouldn't want his life to be messed up at 23.
I don't think it's like
the daughter. There will always be women hanging around athletes, always, and you cannot base the judgment about a professional athlete's competitiveness, durability, suitability based on what was done in an off the field, off the court incident
agree.
with the female.
I would agree to that. I would agree to that.
So we'll see how it works out. But yes, the NFL now has an age-old problem that they have to work out.
Do you know that the NFL has not talked to him or the girl?
And
Well, I mean, so okay, you're gonna get fired from your job, and nobody even.
it depends on how bad you are.
Okay.
And you, more than anyone else, should know that because you have a bad son. He was fired from his job, and yet the people doing the firing were wrong. And now they will have to be made right. This young man will have to go out and get himself the resources to make his situation right. Yes,
I
it's
thought he did
unfair.
that. I didn't think it's unfair. I don't think that was. I don't think it's
yeah,
unfair.
it's
what happened
unfair
there.
to ban him for life if that indeed
No, they didn't
occurred.
do that. They didn't do that. And he
But if
didn't.
it's just goodbye to this team,
Yeah, that's what it
see
was.
you on the next team, then he's.
That's what they did.
The league is treating him fairly. As
No,
far
the
as I can
team
see.
did that. The league ain't did nothing. The league.
The team. It makes no difference. The guys' optics were bad.
Why don't you tell me how you really feel?
The guys' optics were bad.
You're acting the same way you did when them dudes was in the locker room with the pistols, and you thought that was the guy should be hung for that. I didn't agree with you on that either.
Right. And that's why this is issues and sports.
Right. But I'm just saying that I'm just saying that the NFL hasn't done any investigation. This happened in February. They haven't investigated anything about it yet. They haven't talked about it. They got a young person they asked the young person what's going on. You know somebody 20-something years old is probably going to lie if they think they're in some kind of trouble. That's just the nature of it.
Right.
And I'm not saying, and I'm saying anything
There
what
was
you're
a players' association who
Hey.
could have recommended going to a lawyer. There was the young man's parents, uncles, and aunts who could have recommended that he seek legal help at sometime in February or March. There were a lot of things I see that could have been done here, but wasn't. And to blame the league now,
I didn't blame the league. I'm not blaming anybody.
For
I'm saying the
making him-
league hasn't talked to him yet.
no reason to.
Okay.
No reason to at all, from what I can see. The young man handled the situation
Yes, he did.
wrongly.
He did.
And-
But I like
and
what he did, though.
He can get back into the league.
getting back in.
And all of that, he just has to go about it the right way. And the right way is pretty much some of the procedures that the NFL Players Association and the league have developed to handle these types of situations. What do they call them? The Jim Rice or the
Ray Rice. Ray Rice.
Ray Rice situations.
Well, this was nowhere near. This was nowhere close to Ray Rice.
All the more reason why the young man handled it foolishly. And if it turns out that he has a player's rep or a agent or something, he really handled it foolishly because his agent or his player's rep should have been right there standing side by side with him to help resolve it.
Yeah, the Chiefs claim that they didn't fire him because of the incident. They cut him because he didn't tell them the truth.
Which is fair enough.
I thought it was. Now, to his credit, which you don't see a whole lot. To his credit, which you don't see a whole lot, he actually went on ESPN and called himself pretty, like, he really laid out how stupid he was. So everything you said, he said all that. He said he said, I was pretty stupid, dumb of me.
Was his agent by his side?
He was by himself, man.
Right. Okay.
And
There
he
we
said,
go.
he said that was pretty stupid of me, and that what the Chiefs did was correct. That he admitted that he had lied to them. He said what they did was correct. And I embarrassed myself. So he said, so what about the tape? He said, I can't say nothing about the tape. The tape speaks for itself. So I was an idiot and a jerk. I apologize to myself, to the lady, to everybody around me, to everybody that was there, for being such a stupid idiot. He said, I'm getting what I deserve. He said, so just wanted to come and say that.
And there's always next season.
Yeah, but the thing that I thought, and one of the guys on the TV show made a good point. He said, at least, this is the first guy that actually got up there and then right off the top admitted that he had messed it up, that he wasn't a victim, that something happened and this is, trying to explain it. Got right up there and said, yeah, I did that. That was me. I fucked up. I'm out. I'm already gone. So let me just put this on the record. And this guy, the Kellerman guy, was upset because he didn't understand why the league was so far behind in dealing with it. The league hadn't even talked to the lady, hadn't even talked to this particular. The lady asked him that. He said, well, how come has the league talked? He said, nobody's talked to me but the team. That's the only people he lied to. But I heard one of them say that nothing can happen once the league takes over. Because now he's on the league list. So nothing can happen until the league just adjudicates.
Same side.
Yeah. I felt kind of sad for you know, for
Yes.
Paul. I thought that was a lesson for.
But if it's just him and maybe two others, it's a very cheap lesson because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of football, basketball, and baseball players who are making way, way too much money to put it at risk because of improper, immature, or poor behavior. And that's what we have to work against in the next 4
How
or
are they
5
gonna?
years.
How are they gonna learn? How does a young person learn how to be that's immature? Learn how not to be immature, except for to do immature things.
I'm not the one to ask that because I have no sympathy for the current generation that has not learned things. That you still have grandmothers, you still have grandfathers, you still have uncles, you still have psychophant coaches. You have a lot of folks who all want you to do well. And I find that when young men in particular, young people in general, 18 to 24, get it in their heads to do something or do it a certain way, there is no dissuading them.
Yeah, it is one of the more curious and unfortunate things. Of
It's growing up.
Being young.
It's one of the stages of
Right.
growing up. Just
Yeah.
as when your 10 and 11-year-old hits and he starts telling you no. No. I don't want to
I
know.
think of the 2-year-old. Is where everything is.
Well, 10, 11, and then the young girl turns 15 and 16, and you know other people are looking at her, and she's 15 or 16. You are, as the father, are going to go crazy every time she goes out the door. But you won't mention it to her because you want her to be normal.
Well, I mean, you know, I would think about the time we was talking about when Kobe Bryant got in the NBA and everybody was talking about him. We was going like, yeah, think about that. The guy's going to make, I don't know, $4 million this year, which is about $88,000 a week. And he's been sleeping in his parents' house, and now he's got $88,000 in his pocket every week.
And he
And
eventually...
there he goes riding off in his truck with,
But also
with more money in his pocket than you probably make in 6 months.
But also, didn't he get in trouble eventually in neighboring state with this woman and the rest of it? I mean,
Well, I thought-
there's no separating the opportunity from the advantage when you're a pro athlete and you have the resources.
Well, I found it interesting at how you know how calm you were about Kobe Bryant's picadillos in Colorado, and how you didn't have any problem with that, but Gilbert Arena, the hibachi man, you wanted to burn him in effigy, but
Well-
not hibachi. You were wrong about hibachi.
Oh, I've
You
been
was wrong about that, you know. And you've been in a lot of locker rooms.
Professor Dotson may be wrong.
You've been in a lot of locker rooms just like me, and you know people be in the locker room with all kinds of tools, man. You know that. That's why I was like really like going, what are you talking about? I've been in the locker room, seen all kinds of people do all kinds of stupid shit in the locker room. And say, I'm saying. I didn't know why you thought that was I don't know why you thought that
It wasn't my locker room, and if it wasn't supposed to be done in my locker room. Now, what's your question about me and other people's locker rooms?
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, I've seen people in there with all kinds of stuff.
So have I.
Okay then, so why
And
would
I
you
managed to avoid those people and not succumb to their rhetoric or arguments.
Yeah, well, you ain't gonna be arguing with somebody who's sitting over in the locker room got a gun in his locker. That's not what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yes, you will. Because you've accepted him as a teammate. And teammates have special entry and leaving privileges to the clubhouse. So it's not surprising that you wouldn't find a pitchfork in his locker or a shoulder blade if you could get them in there. Because in the locker room, these things can be brought in because people trust their teammates.
Okay, now you just really told it. So why would you be concerned because someone else comes in the locker room and says, okay, yeah, you got the little pitchfork over here, but I got 2 pitchforks over here.
You wouldn't be concerned.
Okay.
Unless it's Arena the asshole.
Who?
Gilbert Arenas the asshole.
Oh, come on. The other Gilbert Arenas never got any trouble in his life. The other
Gilbert
guy.
Arena never got any trouble in his life because, thank God,
Never got
basketball came along to keep him out of Dannemora.
Well, the other guy who is in
would
there
have been in Dannemora in the
Yeah.
adjoining cell.
Yeah, I guess. That is a hard. That's a hard road.
No, it's no different than what people have to do, let's say, in a NYSHA project or development. You have to be able to say, I know who my neighbors are, what they're capable of doing. And to the outside world, it looks like they might not be capable of paying their bills, doing anything, even speaking correct English, whatever that might be. And yet you know them more intimately because they live in your environment. They're in your locker room. That locker room just happens to be the lobby of a NYSHA building. But that same type of trust for old-time tenants, for new tenants, for new guys who show up to want to do repairs, new people come proselytizing, talking about how they're going to lead you to a better life. Same type of ears go up when you hear that.
We need another soapbox. Bring another soapbox in here. Gotta get another soapbox, man. You usually tell me that. I like that. That was pretty good. Well, you do know, well, since you said nature, you do know that now that they're building their little thing in Amazon in Queensbridge, which we was out there, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, the Queensbridge, because Stu and I had this deal with the housing authority, and they had took us out to. They had like 5 developments that they had decided that they knew what they was doing. That was perfect. Is that a good statement, Stu?
Well, that was the result.
That was the result?
Right.
Yeah, they had decided that they was going to build these facilities in these particular buildings. The Queensbridge is one of them, and they invited us, Verizon, and some white guys. That's true. Some other white guys came out there, and we was walking around with Verizon, and they was showing us all the stuff that they had did, and we knew right away that it was like crap. But the point I wanted to make about that, but after we went around all of Queensbridge thing, when they came out and started talking about the Amazon thing, one of the research that me and Stu have found out is that in the housing authority, 50% of the people are, according to the housing authority, unemployed. So half of the people who live there are unemployed. And when you really internalize that, you start going, wow, what would happen if you live somewhere where half of the people in your environment don't have a fucking job?
Sounds like Central America.
Sounds like the New York City Housing Authority, Central America. Good point. So when they said that they was going to go to Amazon and they were going to have 25,000 jobs, I think 50 or 60,000 people live in Queensbridge because that's the largest housing project in the United
What are you saying, Doug,
States.
that you want those persons living in Queensbridge to be given priority in employment hiring by Amazon?
Hell no. I'm not
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the 25,000 jobs that the city bent over backwards to give all of the benefits that they could to Amazon to come here, you could put the people, they could get 25,000 people unemployed from Queensbridge houses alone. So they go with this big deal, like they doing all of this, and got Jeff Bezos' kabasa in their mouth, okay? Talking about they getting all these jobs, and when there's not enough jobs. $25,000 job in a city with 9 million people is bullshit. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so
What say you
your
about
major complaint is about another lie being told by the 2% who are running the country? Is that your major complaint?
I'm just a truth teller. I'm a truth teller.
Okay.
I'm a truth teller. That's what I am. I'm telling the truth. And Stu and I know that because we've seen it. We went over there.
My wife's mother was one of the original tenants in the Queensboro houses.
You don't think that something's wrong with that mathematical equation, that algorithm? I got 8 million people. I'm going to get 25,000 jobs. I'm going to give somebody $2 billion.
Well, what's wrong with it is that you're trying to come up with a rational explanation. If it was any other
what rationalization?
any other crazy person, no, it wouldn't surprise me.
There's no rationalization. That's what they really did, Heyward.
That's what they did.
Okay.
But you're failing,
and the numbers are the numbers.
You're failing to mention that perhaps there might not be qualifications for the job. Perhaps people don't want to work there. Perhaps they don't want women over the age of 45 working in this division because of the technology and the movement of packaging. There are a lot of reasons why the population of Queensbridge may not qualify for employment by Google, or Amazon. But by the same token, Amazon will be raising all the rents in the area. Amazon will be chasing out a lot of the small business dealers because they'll attract more profitable, larger businesses that want to locate around the new Amazon factory.
More Kool-Aid, please. More Kool-Aid.
So yes, I mean, what you say is correct, but Amazon is the wrong project to bring it up because the nicer residents in those houses out there, particularly the Queensboro houses, simply cannot fill the jobs that will become available. Nobody wants them to fill the jobs. That's not why white people come and set up these white projects in Queens. They want people who look like them. And if you think about all the situations we as American Africans or people as Latino Americans, immigrants, indigenous Americans who have been stuck on, quote, reservations because, quote, they lost the war. When you think about all of them, none of them really will have any benefit from this project. And yet, if you're mayor, if you're the city council, you want this project to go forward because you can tell every constituency that you've delivered.
So I just want people to, I hope people like listen to very carefully because you said that the people in Queensbridge, they not getting shit.
Yes, that's right.
And that the politicians that all of them voted for are the same Mickey Frickies that run Rikers Island, that run everything that means anything, and they not gonna get nothing, but they tell everybody to go vote for them anyway.
That's right.
Okay. Well, see, now there you go. See, that's now when you listen to the podcast, or if you listen to this, you just might learn something, and right there you learn how dumb we all are.
Yes. But
I think that's an important
But we also learned how peaceful we all are. We also learned how futuristic looking we all are. We also learned how backward and historically we can view things from the advantage of 2018 as opposed to 1968. So we see all of those things.
He's never lied about that.
The nicer houses are the nicer houses, but they did give heat, they did give some sort of shelter, they did do a lot of things. Now, 50, 60 years later, the nicer houses have stopped doing those things for the residents, and the residents are about to kick ass to get them started again.
And I hope they don't take no names either, because they don't need to take no names. Because it's pretty clear from the experience that we have is that most of the people who in the bureaucracy part, I'm just saying because we had that arrangement with ourselves. And I'd say we only got that because we went in the room with a rich white guy. Would you disagree with that, Stu?
Oh, absolutely not.
Rich white guy walked, let me tell you something. We went in there and we went in there to try to do business with the hierarchy, and we went in there with some black guys. A rich black guy. And the rich black guy sat down there and said, I'm worth $107 million, we're going to do 8 blah, 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 blah. They act like he was talking to the wall.
That's right.
We walked in there with a rich white guy who had on a Magnum PI shirt and socks with sandals on. I swear, I'm not making that up. He walked in there, and not only did we get a deal, we got a deal with no due diligence.
Make America
white
again.
Yeah.
Some people substitute some words in it, but it's making America great again.
Here go
and
Michael George.
The major thing about making America great again was that you had people living on the other side of the tracks. You had people in reservation, but you didn't have any immigrants walking among you. You didn't have anybody different than your people who were taking jobs at the main factories. So all of that has been a change in the last 6 to 7 years.
podcast that's being delivered over the East Harlem Community Radio Network and all of the night shift places over at you can go to ehcr.online and listen to Michael George live. Michael George, we're here in the studio. We're here in the Riverside Knock. I sent you a copy of the shows. I hope you got them, Michael George, and I hope you peruse them. Stu's doing the podcast, and they will be on iTunes in tomorrow.
I did see the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, that was the visual podcast, and I think we had a blistering 4 people watching us and indulging in this sort of tomfoolery. Heyward, the professor, the voice of clarity, and I, and Stu is here with us. We just now was talking about the guy in Kansas City who we were very. I was very happy that he came out and told everybody that he was a goddamn fool and he lied to his boss. So I'm okay with all that. But what about how do you feel about that situation, Michael George?
Well, I'm not familiar with the situation.
Kansas City Chiefs, the running back.
Okay. Oh, you talking about Kareem Hunt?
Oh, did we have to say his government name?
Yes.
Okay, you said it. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, first off, 2 things. First off, the NFL, showed that they have a serious problem in terms of security and all of the things, some of the things they're trying to lay down, because they could not obtain the video to do a thorough investigation. Kareem Hunt, unfortunately, I was just discussing this with somebody the other day. If you're a professional athlete, you have to know that people are looking at you, that your behavior is being scrutinized, very heavily these days.
You're famous. You're famous, man.
So,
you're famous, Mike.
Say it again?
I'm just saying you're famous.
Well, if you're famous, right? You have to have a different level of a set of rules in terms of your behavior.
That's right.
Especially if you're out in the public, because
That's right.
people are going to be looking at you.
That's right.
And that's
famous also means having a lot of money. That's the same thing as being famous.
Either way, if you're in the public eye,
yeah, right.
And people are watching you, so people are looking at you to see what you're going to do to mess up, to do something wrong, and unfortunately, they don't do this. Have this give it to a charity, this, that, and the other, because there's lots of people, famous people, who do stuff. They fly under the radar. You don't know what they're doing, but they're doing good in the community.
So you okay with the NFL's lack of action at this particular point?
Listen, the Chiefs, the Kansas City jerk reaction, because they didn't have any choice. It's like the kid Reuben Foster, who's with the Redskins now, linebacker who was released by San Francisco for domestic violence, was picked up by the Redskins. There are teams who are objecting to it, players who are objecting to it. He's not playing right now. He's going to have to go through a protocol to get to a position where he can even play. And I see the same thing for Kareem Hunt too. It's a little bit different from the Ray Rice case, because the NFL knew that they blew the investigation. Kareem Hunt was complicit in it. The fact that he did not tell the truth when he was questioned about it.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you a question.
So,
do you think? I was just talking to me and Heyward about that because I was saying, because I know you have a daughter as well. I mean, do you? That whole thing looked, compared to the other guy, the Rice guy. This is pretty tame shit, man.
This was pretty tame.
Compared to that, this was real tame. Compared to that.
Well, the other thing is this. When the story first broke, and I read the details of what actually happened from people who were there. Supposedly, first off, the police were not called, and then when the police were called, they came to possibly arrest another woman that had come out of the room and told these 2 girls who were hanging out outside the room, to leave. They were in the party. Some of the players, or I don't know who, said, well, you girls are too young to be here. They were both 19. So they put them out. Instead of the girls leaving, They stayed and stood in the hotel hallway,
Okay.
trying to get back into the party.
You can see.
If
you watch,
came out and said, "Yo, you guys got to leave," and that was part of that group that came out was Kareem Hunt, who obviously, as we saw in the tape, pushed the girl, and then he came back.
Mike, he didn't push the girl, Mike. He did not push the girl. He pushed a guy who fell into one of his other guys who was talking to the girl. He pushed one guy. That guy fell into another guy and pushed and that's how the girl fell out. He didn't actually. He didn't actually push the girl. He did kick her though. He kicked her. He gave her a kick.
He did kick her.
He did kick her, but he didn't push her or nothing. He gave her a kick, and I would say that kick. I don't know why I mean, if you look at that kick, you were going, you lose your job over that. He didn't even try to kick her. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No,
he didn't even try to kick. It was totally stupid. The whole thing was so stupid. It was so stupid.
The whole thing was stupid. And again, but these are the sensitive times that we live in.
I get that part. I get that part. I just want people to understand that when you have kids, young people, and they're drinking, and one of them, because you can see the girl, she looked like she was intoxicated because she was throwing punches at people, so she looked intoxicated, and of course, you can see that it was, if you were the police, no one would have gotten arrested, in my opinion.
Right.
I think if a cop would have been there and seen that, nobody would have. It didn't rise. My point was, it didn't rise to all that. It was so simple. It looked like 5-year-olds. I mean, in terms of he pushed the guy that he pushed that fell into the other guy that fell into the girl. He pushed them harder than anything that I saw there.
Look, and in all probability,
that was crazy.
If the police had come.
No, I don't
think
the
police had come. There wouldn't have been no assault charge or battery or anything like that. But
people should see the video. Wouldn't you recommend that, Mike?
Excuse me?
I'm saying that people should see the video. And if you see the video, and because I'm saying, when I hear about it, I start listening about it, and I listened to it after I saw the video, I was going like, if I was a school teacher, you would probably let this shit go. This happened in school when you saw a kid did it, you would probably let it go. It was that stupid. It was that simple. It was that I mean, I don't think that girl had even an inch of a scratch. The guy, the guy who fell into it, I thought he got hurt more than him because he took the brunt of that. The guy tried to stop the running back from pushing him. You can see how strong that dude was. If he wanted to hurt that girl, he couldn't.
Right.
He didn't. He wasn't trying to hurt. You could see that nobody could have stopped him if he really wanted to hurt somebody. You saw that.
No, well, absolutely.
That's the scary part, I think. I think that's what scared everybody. It was really a big.
Well,
I mean, you can see his power.
Look, the thing is, like I said, this is the NFL. And the NFL already has a...
Well, the Ray Rice thing, that was terrible. That was like, if somebody would have did that to your daughter, you would have been like going, y'all going to have to get the cops. What Ray Rice did, if somebody did that to your daughter, your sister, your mother, you'd be going like, somebody's going to have to get the cops because I'm going to jail. I'm going to hurt that guy. This was not that. This was not that. I just wanted to say that for a minute. This was nowhere near. This was not that.
But like I said,
that was criminal. The Ray Rice thing, he beat the girl in the elevator, that was criminal, man. He should have got arrested for that.
Well,
not this kid.
He didn't get arrested, but he lost his career.
Well, he should have. That was what he did when he beat, and I felt so bad for her when she came back and said, just stuck by him anyway after he beat the fucking shit out of her, man.
Well, that's
I'm talking about the Ray Rice
thing. Case.
Yeah, he beat the crap.
That's how domestic abuse works sometimes.
No, that was assault, man. That was assault, man. He should have got indicted. Sorry. Hey, Mike, the reason why I said indicted because I was telling Heyward earlier, and that buzzing sign you hear is they're drilling into the studio here from China. You hear that noise?
I hear that.
That's them trying to get in here from China because they're after Heyward.
Yeah, I understand, man.
Yeah, they're after the Stuyvesant.
I know he's on Interpol's most wanted list.
Well, no, it's the Stuyvesant, man. It's the Stuyvesant thing. He doesn't want to. It's Stuyvesant, man. But the question I was going to ask you, Michael, was Heyward and I we were talking earlier, and you had missed that because you wasn't here, but we were talking earlier about the people who are the immigrants who are coming here in this country, and I just want to know what kind of what do you think about that, Mike? Let's get have a quick picture.
I live in Los Angeles, man.
Oh.
This is the most what's the word for mixed population city I've ever seen. More people, different kinds of people. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was speaking with Russell Schuller the other day and pointing out to him how when you get a notice from the any of the public service departments here, it comes in 18 languages.
No, same here.
Right?
Same here.
Yeah, same here, right? And the thing here is you have even in the apartment complex I live in, there are people that speak two different kinds of Farsi, right? Which is another language and stuff. So it's very it's interesting. But as far as the immigrants, look, people come get here whatever way they can. This country was founded by immigrants. Everybody here is an immigrant. So except for Native Americans and stuff. So it's
everybody don't agree with you, Mike. You do know that, right?
I know everybody don't agree with me. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I don't even care if anybody agrees with me. That's not
I'm saying you got a whole lot of Trump supporters that don't believe that they're immigrants.
Well, but let's be a little fair. It used to be that one was free no matter how far you walked. You just picked up and started walking out of Africa, started walking into Asia, started walking into Europe.
I said we lived in a borderless world.
And so now when you're talking about territory which was primarily Hispanic for hundreds of years, and now those people wish to just walk on that form of territory, to me, they have a right to do so, natural right, which may not at times jive with the civil rights that people may have or that a president may wish to impose. But your ability to put your feet down and keep on moving was one that was given to you by God many thousands of years ago, not by Donald Trump.
He's got it in for Donald Trump, Mike. He's been saying things about Donald Trump the whole time. No one's engaged him in it. I haven't because I don't know that much about Donald Trump. But maybe. But
is that why they call you Trumpian?
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I have actually one friend who I've known since I was in the 5th grade, who told me he was gonna vote for Trump. He's the only person I know who's like that. Who told me he was gonna vote for Trump, and when I saw him after Trump won, he said he said that he did it because he was angry with the Democrats. I'm serious. He said the Democrats don't deserve his vote. They haven't done anything to do that. So I'm just going to ask you one thing that me and Heyward talked about early on. What about George Bush? I'm talking about the one that died. What about George Bush?
Well, listen,
the dead one. The dead one. He ain't supposed to say that. Right?
The dead one.
He ain't supposed to say that, right? I don't think he's supposed to say that, right? He ain't supposed to say the dead George.
I've always had a certain level of respect and disrespect for the office of the presidency. So, but after Donald Trump has set a new precedent in terms of how we look at all other presidents.
Leave the disrespect out. Leave the disrespect out. Go to the respect part. Leave the disrespect part out.
I'm saying, listen, the man was like, I admired the fact that he had a sense of humor about himself. I was looking at Saturday Night Live the other night, and they did a little tribute to him. And he didn't take himself seriously, of course, but listen, the man lived a good life, served his country. When you read about him as a naval fighter and being bombed and jumping out of his plane, there's a lot of things that that the public really don't know about people. We know their public side, we know some of their private side, and then there's stuff we find out later on how heroic they were or distant loyal they were and all that stuff. So I have much respect for him, and I wish him and his family peace in his mourning. So
Yeah,
It's ironic because my family, and particularly my mother, is a lifelong Republican, and she loved Dwight David Eisenhower, and she had a very high regard for George Bush Sr. Having said all that, when Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, my mother convinced all other 32 women in the family to vote for Hillary Clinton. And when asked why would a Republican do that, she said, because he's not a Republican, he is a liar. And I've never found anybody come that close to identifying the president only 2 days into his term. Now here we are 2 years into his term, and I think many people would say that fake news, dissembling, and other attributes are indeed part of this presidency.
Well, here's the part that I like, Michael George. The part that I'm liking is that whenever you say fake news, so I'm just saying he's fake. He's not a real president. He's not real. He's like the invasion of the body snatchers. Whenever I just saw the movie last week. And I'm talking about the original one where the little kid, the little boy was going, "That's not my dad. Mm-hmm. That's not the little boy." You know what I mean? The movie. So he's not a real president. The thing that I think they should be afraid of, or people that, or the culture should be cognizant of, is that sooner or later, what happens when people start going, "That's a fake census. The census is fake," and maybe we counting the wrong thing. Maybe that maybe the people who they think are the minorities aren't really the minorities. Maybe that's what's really going on, because there's political ties to the census. So the point I'm making is that once you start saying things are fake, then you're going to have to deal with because when people when people start going, yeah, why can't I do that? How come what you're saying is real? Because you say so? See, because he's doing the believe what I say because I said something. And as you remember, as when we were kids, I don't know about everybody, I know that was one of the things that I used to get from my mother a lot. When I would call myself questioning her, she would go, "You're going to do it because I said so." And a lot of times I find when I listen to President Rump, I start thinking of him talk. I see him talking like my mother used to talk, like, this is so-and-so, this is this, because I said it is. He just says things and he thinks it's true because he said it.
Well, Doug, I just heard your daughter talk to you like that on the phone. So it goes to show you sometimes there are people around you who need to be talked to sternly.
Michael George, since you,
yes, sir.
Since you, Stewart, who's in here with us, and Heyward and myself are all fathers of daughters, Heyward knows what he's talking about when it comes to being a wimp for your daughter.
Absolutely.
So he's not going to get any dispute for any of us, particularly since I think my daughter, he's saying this because my daughter called while we was taping a few minutes ago, and I mentioned to my daughter that we were doing the podcast, and she said if she had known we were doing a podcast, she would talk me out of it. She meant order me not to do it. She meant order me not to do it, but I ain't listening to her. I'm brave when I'm with y'all. Mike, I'm brave when I'm with you and Stu and Heyward.
No, but we know that, man.
Thank you.
But here's the thing too. The thing is like, when you're a parent, obviously, and like you said, your mother would say to you, you're doing it because I said so.
Period.
That's the type of, you need that as a child, and as you grow into an adult, but you realize looking back that you needed that type of discipline. Otherwise, you might have done something really, really stupid, And so the idea of your mother and or father telling you this is the way it is, that's fine in a parental situation. But Donald Trump is not our parent, and he treats the country like it's his child. And we know that's not the case. So his method of ruling,
so it's better if somebody else says it
in a particular order, are not based on and even at some point, even when you're looking at your parents, and they're telling you, well, we're going to do it, because I said we're going to do it. At some point, you start to resist.
That's right.
You start to say no. to do that.
No, you ain't saying no to their face.
And you really do think whatever comes out of you saying that.
Hey, Mike.
When you start to move to another level as a human being, because you start to think for yourself and not think, in terms of a hierarchy. You start to think in terms of being more territorial and stuff, and because you know that yourself is yourself and you're your own person. But you're obviously your parents are the delivery system. We get them here, and then we have to know when to let go. And if we don't know when to let go, you don't have to worry about that because they'll let go. And you see the power of being an individual and stuff. So so Trump's approach to governing is like a parent, but he's like a bad parent. He's not telling people, the right thing to do. It's like, do it because I said to do it, but I don't even know what I'm talking about himself, and that's what I think we have to deal with.
He doesn't seem like to me, he seems like, your uncle who your parents will go, don't listen to Uncle Johnny. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He comes to the house, everybody know him, everybody know who he is.
Everybody has that uncle in their family, like, yo, don't let him alone with the kids.
Yeah, don't listen to him either. Don't listen to nothing Uncle Johnny says.
Right.
Don't go nowhere with him unless you check with me.
Don't go nowhere with him. That's the other thing, right? Don't go anywhere.
You might get locked up.
It's true.
Because you might get locked up. You don't know what kind of scams that Uncle. And if Uncle John's not a real person, he's a made-up person. That's somebody you'll know that's like that. And he seems like that kind of a person. But here's what I don't understand, Mike. If you have a lawyer, and why wouldn't you pardon your lawyer? Why wouldn't he pardon his lawyer? Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you want to have a fight with somebody that knows things about you? Why would you do that?
Well, because you have a specific lack of intelligence on certain things. He's a dumbass. That's why.
I don't think he's a dumbass, Mike. I think he's a hater. I think he's a hater. I think that he,
you don't have to separate the two. You can be a dumbass hater.
Okay. I like that, Mike. He been, you know how you have to play against some guys. I can say, Nick. Well, he reminds me of, and I'm thinking this in a positive way. He reminds me a lot of Marvin Stevens, the Hammer. And he was a guy you could play against, who was a really good player. But the whole time you played against him, he would complain to the ref the whole effing game. Complain about everything. Right. He would complain about, I don't care what it was. And at the end of the game, he had 25, 30 points on you. Complained the whole game. Right. He'd be going, he can't possibly be playing well. And he's the only person I ever met that can play well, and he complained the whole game. Trump is like Marvin Stevens. Except for, he complains all the time about everything. But he still gets his little swerve on, and I believe he gets his swerve on because he's one of them. And this country is set up so that one group is doing all the winning. And I think that's what people got to look at. So
no.
I think that's what people got to look at, try to do, Mike. Not the specifics of who's doing what to who. I think what we got to do is look to do a whole lot of more winning. You know what I mean? You got to be doing some winning. You only win with teamwork. You only win with teamwork, Mike. And you got to have teamwork to win. And like Heyward said earlier about the locker room, you got to be. There's no lying in the locker room because the lie in the locker room is not going to go unchecked. Can't get up in the locker room and lie to everybody and think ain't nobody going to laugh in your face.
Right.
You're getting laughed at, man. People going to laugh in your face, man. They ain't letting it go. And we got to treat ourselves like we're in a big giant locker room and you got a fake president, man. You got the fake coach. He's the coach, but he's fake. He's not real. He's not a real person, man. Come on. How could you be 70-something years old and have blonde hair? That's not real. I'm serious. That's not real, man.
I'd like to add one thing if I could.
Donald's hair, man. That's his, we cut off his hair. He's like Samson. Cut his hair off.
Yeah, he's gone.
Knows what happens.
Hey, Mike. This is Stu.
Yes, sir.
I just want to tell a quick story. How you doing? My son is an avid golfer, and he hangs out with a lot of these elite white guys as a caddy.
EWMs, elite white men. Oh, EWGs. Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, elite white golfers.
Yeah,
anyway,
white
my son happened to have a one-on-one with one of these golfer guys off the site, and the guy was telling a story about playing in a tournament with Trump, and Trump hit the ball off in the rough, and he went over in the rough, and you know you're supposed to hit the ball out the rough. He kicked it out the rough with his foot, kicked it back into play, and the guy was aghast. Anyway, he did it again. And kicked it out again, and the guy that was like one of the tournament officials went over and said, Donnie, we can't do that, we can't do that. You know, you're making me look bad, you're making everybody look bad. And Trump said, listen, I cheat on everything. I cheat in business, I cheat on my wife, I cheat in golf. Get used to it, get the fuck out of here. I said, whoa.
Okay.
It's an observation.
Privilege quite often leads to cheating, in one form or another. And Donald Trump, from what we know, was privileged as of 3 years old.
Okay, all right, Michael George. So that bell that we hear is the bell that the bus is coming to take us all back to the home. So now when we gonna do the next?
You want to do Friday or?
No, Mike, so we're going to do it again on Friday. This Friday? We're going to do it again on Friday, Mike. I'll let
around
you know.
11, something like that.
I'll let you know what, around 11.
Our time.
Around 11, 8 o'clock, West Coast time, 11 o'clock time, we'll have a chance to talk about, I should have let you know, by the way, Mike, we'll have a chance to talk about the wonderful Lakers and how well they're doing, and some of the things that, because you know I get the LA Times in my thing, and I see that there's a lot of in my email. I don't know, they give you get a free version of it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we got to tell people how to get, like, when we come next, I'm going to look around for some, I'm going to try to put on a list of some of the free crap we done ran across and see if we could let people know. So we're going to hopefully, you know.
Have you ever heard of something called Death Graph?
Yeah, oh yeah, I've been using that for years. That's an incredible site. You know that site.
What's that?
That's one of the most incredible websites
You've
and
seen
most
it.
useful
Showed it to you
websites
10
on
years
the
ago.
internet. If you have that, you have access to
It's got all the newspapers and everything. You've seen it. You may have forgot about it.
Yeah, I forgot about it. Okay, well, you know, hey Michael George, we don't want to, you know.
Powering off.
I can't got the weak battery.
It just decides I don't know why.
Yeah, you know how to work it.
It's charged up.
Hey, Michael George. Michael George.
Strength training class, so.
Michael George, Stu has a device that we have to, like, you know, disconnect. So anyway, the Accessoride people, Wheels on Mills people are here.
Downstairs.
The Wheels on Mills people is here at the door. Those of you who are listening over the East Harlem Community Radio Network will be black next week. Those of you that want to get the podcast can go to our site, the Streamer University, on YouTube. And if you have any comments and questions for the professor or Miguel Jorge, which we're going to put his picture on here too so people can harass him, you can go to our YouTube site and leave the comments there, and I suspect they will answer all your questions. And so,
and I hope next week we'll be able to take a look at LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers and that punk Kevin Durant playing for Golden State, and discuss whether or not there are any differences in their careers.
Is that his middle name, Punk? Is Punk his middle name, or is that his last name?
We call it carrying the team on one's shoulders. He has no shoulders, therefore he's a punk.
Oh, he's kind of skinny.
Awesome. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to go. I'll catch you up with you guys next week.
All right, Mike, I resemble that remark. Remember, if you tune in next week,
you just may learn something.
All right, Mikey. See you later, man. Thank you. Over and out.
Peace.
Peace. Back to the music, those of you who are listening to us on the EHCR .online network. We'll turn control back to you.